You know, things are always rosy in the beginning, but it's not hard to see a problem right near the beginning and quietly sweep it under the carpet because you want things to work out. I saw times when he didn't speak truth, and it was concerning to me, where I would catch him in things that I explained away.
6 years, 7 years, something like that. We weren't talking, we weren't communicating at all. We were just kind of like coexisting in the house. And after I lost my jobs through the economy and everything else that had happened back in 2010, I just kind of like totally shut down. And as Bruce put it at one point in time to me, a turtle. And I withdrew my head and stuck my head inside my shell, and I closed the shell. I didn't want to deal with anything whatsoever.
He had a hard time sleeping, so he would get out of bed in the middle of the night and go watch TV to get tired, and then he'd come back to bed. And then after a while, he would go out to the sofa and try to get tired, and he would get tired, and he'd just fall asleep on the sofa so he wouldn't bother me. And then it got to the point where, why start in the bed? So he just stayed on the sofa the whole time. And he slept on the sofa for 5 years.
The only time that we would really see each other would be a couple minutes at the dinner table at night. And other than that, we would just end up splitting, again, company, her going her way and I going mine.
There was a point when I left a voice message for Tom and told him that I wanted to get together to talk about where we're going with this marriage. And that I would meet him at the diner at 7:30 and save a table. Would you please be there? And he didn't show. And I texted him and said, I'll be at this other diner tomorrow night, and I'll be there at 7:30, and you need to show. Well, and if you don't show this time, I'll know that you aren't interested. And he didn't show. So I texted him and said, I'll get the rest of my things and clear out, and we can file an uncontested divorce. There's nothing left to split. Sorry you didn't think I was worth fighting for.
I didn't want any of this to happen, what we were going through, the separation or anything else. I was looking for a way for us to get back together. And she offered, or had seen an ad for the couples retreat and asked me if I would be interested in going. And I said, yes, I would.
So Tom said that he would be willing to consider a retreat, and I went online to look it up, and I realized the retreat was in 2 weeks, and I was really frustrated at that because I wasn't ready for it in 2 weeks. Like, when is it next fall? And I looked into next fall, and there wasn't anything next fall, so it was a case of, do you want it or not? The room was kind of full, and what we were dealing with was kind of private, and I didn't know where this was going to go, so I was a little concerned about that because I didn't want him to be scared off. He's a real private kind of guy, and he was willing to be there, so I didn't want it to scare him off. Well, we really related to their whole personality profile of themselves, because I'm very much like Karen and Tom's very much like Bruce. It's just, it was really ridiculously laughable when they started talking about each other, because meet the turtle, and yeah, I'm the hailstorm.
That's it, yes ma'am.
That's what he said the whole first 21 years of our marriage. I did all the other talking. His talking was,
yes ma'am.
we learned a lot about how to communicate.
Yes, we did.
And it helped to have questions to talk to each other. To just leave us on our own devices, we would have sat there and stared at each other.
Yep.
But to have questions, that was like way important.
Yes.
And then we got to physical intimacy, and how do we even talk about that?
That went to hell, excuse my English, hell in a handbasket real quick.
Well, that's until we heard that this was emotional intimacy
Yes.
or physical intimacy. You know, just
a
a touch.
touch.
And we'd gotten as far as just a touch, so we were, yay, we're on board with that. We have physical intimacy. And then we got to spiritual intimacy, and that's when everything went weird, because we went knee to knee and nose to nose, and I asked you the first question.
And my response was, I'm sorry. I paid no attention whatsoever. I didn't hear a word being said tonight.
I wasn't really sure I liked that answer.
Something's just eating at me, and I can't stay. I'm leaving. Put my jacket on, and I walked out of the conference center, out into the night. It was snowing like a son of a gun. I don't think it was more than 30 degrees that night. I walked and paced a parking lot, I think, for about 15 minutes. And at one point in time, I just stopped, and I was standing there physically shaking. And I looked up in the sky, and I said, God, I'm broke. I can't fix me. Please come and help. And with that, I turned around, and I felt like something just left my shoulders at that point in time. I walked back into the room. I sat back down next to Ruth Ann, and I sat there for about 30 seconds, and I looked at her. I said, I'm sorry, I got to go. I got to get up and leave again. And she kind of like looked at me, and I said, I'll be right back, but I got to go. It turned out the cold got to me walking from out in the cold into the warmth, and I had to make a beeline to a bathroom. Enough said about that subject.
Well, when he left the first time, I was sitting, he actually had me positioned in the very center of the room with all these other couples circling me, talking to each other, and I'm there by myself. And all I can think of is, I have to pray for him. And I just bowed my head and prayed, don't let go, don't let go, don't let go. Please don't let go, don't let go. Hold on to him. Don't let go. Don't let go. And when he came back in the room, he didn't leave right away. He told me what had happened outside. Because when he did go away, I was sitting there just crying. And I had one of the pastors that was in the room come over to me. He was concerned because he had seen Tom leave, seen him come back and seen him leave, and now I'm sitting there crying. And he wanted to know if I was okay. I said, yeah. My husband just found Jesus. Love the fan the flame dates, because everything we learned at the retreat was excellent, but then what? You know, you go home and then what? So to be able to watch a small film and have the ability to print out a worksheet and go from there and do a toe-to-toe and nose-to-nose, and it's like still being at retreat. It's really cool.
Yes, it is. It's waking me up. Let's put it that way. I'd recommend Fanning the Flame State just for the sole purpose. I believe it helps you learn to communicate better, understand your partner.
So each time we do one of these dates, we learn something more about each other or about ourselves, and that's valuable.